And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. Today we're talking about Whistle Mountain. Now, Whistle Mountain from Scott Caputo and Luke Laurie and Bezier Games is something that when I first opened it up and saw it, I thought, this game seems like Whistle Stop, which was the first game from this same combination, and I thought, oh, this is a sequel, whatever. Here's the thing. Not at all. This game is not a sequel. It has nothing to do with Whistle Stop other than the fact that both games use whistles. And I would argue in this game, the whistles are here simply so that they could call it Whistle Mountain. They're just a wild resource in this game. They're here to call it Whistle Mountain, so it's a sequel to the first one. The problem with this is if you like Whistle Stop or not. I like Whistle Stop. I liked it even more with the expansion. But that will have nothing to do whether you like Whistle Mountain or not, and I get concerned that people will pass this by because they think whether they like it or not, or they'll play it expecting Whistle Stop. They're very different games. This is a worker placement game where you are building next to a dam on a mountain, and you are placing different airships there, dirigibles and hot air balloons, trying to get points in a myriad of ways. Let me show you. Each player is going to start with their starting board. You have places for upgrades, and each player is also going to start with a starting ability, and I'll explain a little bit about how those work. You have 3 airships, hot air balloon, and a blimp, and a dirigible, and each of them is a different size. Players are also going to be starting with a bunch of workers. Some of them are here swirling around here down the drain. We got to rescue them from the whirlpool. If you don't, they're going to be worth -5 points at the end of the game. And then you also have a bunch of workers over here next to the board. Now, on a player's turn, they're either going to place an airship called the collect action, or they're going to forge, in which case they're going to pull their airships back, and they have the ability to build on the grid. When you place an airship, you can take one of your 3 airships and put it out in either on the grid, and I'll talk about that in a bit, or you can put it in one of these docks on the outside. And you'll notice that there's different docks out around. Down here, if you put one in this dock, you rescue one of your people from the whirlpool. By the way, when you put people in the docks here, it does not matter what size the ship is. If you go up here, you can take one of these scaffolding pieces. There's 3 different types of them. Or you can pay a whistle to take 2, or pay 2 whistles to take 3. When you go up here, you can pay the cost on these technology tiles to take one and add it to your board. These are special abilities. They're also worth points at the end of the game. So gold lung, for example, if I pay 4 gold and take it, golds are now wild resources for me. And also at the end of the game, it's worth 2 points. This one here costs 2 whistles. And each turn, once a turn, I can pay a whistle to take a scaffolding piece. And this is worth 5 points at the end of the game. And this one here just simply gives me an extra 2 point for each technology tile that I have over the course of the game. At the top here, I can just get cards. Oh, there's lots of different cards in the game. Cards can be used on your turn. And this one here, for example, I can send back one of my blimps if I want to. You can take a card for free, or 2 cards for any resource of your choice, 3 cards for any 2 resources. And then over here, I have small, medium, and large machines. When you go to these docks, you simply pay the resources that it costs there, and you'll take the machine in front of you. Now, all these machines and the scaffolding is going to be used to build when you use the forge action. There's going to be some scaffolding placed at the beginning of the game, but whenever you forge, you're going to be able to put something out on the board. You can pay water resources to put out extra things. You're going to be able to put out scaffolding or machines. Scaffolding simply means you place it on the board, and for each edge that you touch, as you place the scaffolding, and you can place it kind of any way you want as long as it's touching other scaffolding, but for each edge you touch, you get a victory point. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 victory points that would be. When you place a machine, you simply need to have a spot here where you can put this machine. So for example, I can put this here because it covers up scaffolding. This one actually will fit right here, this large machine, but I can't put a machine here, for example, because there's an empty spot behind it. Also, when forging, players can spend gold resources to rescue somebody here from the whirlpool, or to move a worker from the side here over onto the scaffolding. When you move a worker on a scaffolding, if anybody places a building on top of where that worker is, and usually you'll do it yourself, that worker then moves over here. The first worker to move over to this spot will get this little reward tile, something you can turn in whenever you wanted to do it. But also at the end of the game, workers are going to be worth points based on how high they are on this scaffolding on the outside. When placing your airships, I said at the beginning, you could place them in this grid. And this really matters where the size of these ships is at this point, because whenever you place these, you can place them either next to scaffolding. You can't place them directly on scaffolding, but you can place them directly on a machine. When you place them somewhere, they're going to activate everything around them. So for example, let's say I put this one here. It's going to activate the machine it's on. So here I can spend a resource to get 2 whistles. I'm also next to a whistle, and I'm next to this machine, which gives me 2 coal. So I get 2 coal, a whistle, and I can change a resource for another whistle. If I had placed my big airship here, I would get to use this machine, spend a resource for 2 whistles, get 2 coal, and get a gold and 2 whistles. I could place my airship over here in the corner, where I'm going to get a coal, and I'm going to get 3 water. So you can see as you place these, they're going to give you different things based on how you place them on the board. You get all the resources they're next to that's on the scaffolding, and also every machine they're next to. So if I place it here, I would also run this machine. Now you can see how cool my special ability is here, because this particular one says when I play my little air balloon, it gives me stuff even diagonally. So when I place this one here, for example, well, that might not be the best place, but if I place it here, I'm also going to get a gold, a coal, and so you want to use your special ability the best way that you possibly can. When a machine or part of a machine is placed above the danger line here, that's going to cause the water to rise. You'll take the top water tile here and place it like this. Any workers who are still there, or on the scaffolding itself actually, will fall down into the whirlpool, and you covers things up. If a machine is partially covered up, you're no longer going to be able to use it. And this is actually how the game end is going to be triggered, because you're going to keep bringing these out, and when the water rises to the top, that's going to trigger the end of the game. At that point, everyone's going to score. Your board will tell you how to score. You'll score workers for each level of the tower they're at on the side, -5 for each worker in the whirlpool. Your upgrades, your technologies will get you points. Each machine that you have built is worth victory points. Victory points you'll get for each award that you've gotten over the time. Victory points for every 2 scaffolds that you have. This is leftover stuff. It's not very many points. Victory point for every 2 cards. Victory point for every 4 resources. You're also going to be getting tons of victory points over the course of the game. This is just extra stuff at the end. Whoever has the most victory points is the winner. The resources are really nice. You have a spot here. You only have room for 4 resources of each type on your board. Your board works really well. The technology tiles, they fit, in these little slots here, and it's nice to have your special ability on the outside. The board itself is neat. This here, there's some plastic pieces here that fit in the board that these water tiles go on top of. And all the different meeples and everything looks pretty cool. I would say the board itself, the background is a little bland, but considering all the different symbology, that's probably worth it. There is a lot of symbology in the game. You can see a whole sheet of it here. I do appreciate that they mention how every single card, every starting ability, every large machine, small machine, medium machine, how they work. But once you start playing the game, you'll barely have to look at this, because even though there is a lot of iconography, it is pretty easy to figure out how it works. Whistle Mountain does some neat things I've never seen a game do before. Essentially in this game, you are placing workers. Okay, I've seen that before. Place workers out, get resources, do this, blah, blah, blah. But this one allows you to construct the spots you place the workers on. So you are placing this balloon out, and you built the scaffolding, you put these machines out there, and every game of this is going to be wildly different. And you can build some really cool combos out there. If I put this out, it's touching 4 different machines. Each of those machines goes off, and you have these combos. The game comes with a ton of point chips, and that's really necessary because you are just the points are just pouring in over the course of the game, especially once you get your engines building. And it has very different things you can try to do. You want to rescue your workers. A -5 changing to a +5 is a 10-point swing. And so you want to do that. You want to kind of focus on your starting ability that you have, because that's going to be different every game. And then you have these technologies. There are many different routes that you can go on in this game. And I think the starting ability, which again are wildly different, I believe that's a good thing because it gives you something to focus on. Maybe you get cards more easily. Well, then that's what I focus on. Doing things that give me more cards, and I can use those cards to go on. You got to keep an eye on the technologies. In one game I played, I was able to have coal and gold both become wild resources for me. And at that point, I didn't care what resources I got. I just got resources and used them to build all sorts of things. Building the scaffolding, every time you put it out, you get points, but those machines also give points. And there's just this really neat concept here as you watch the scaffolding build and put the machines on top of it, because you're getting points as you do that, but you're also thinking, how am I going to place these workers out ahead of time? This game, for me, was just phenomenally fun. I adore the different, I'm a big fan of games where you place workers and then pull them off the board. So in this game, you have 3 things. You can put them out and then pull them all back. Sometimes you'll pull them back before you put out all 3. You can put them on the outside of the board. When you put them on the outside of the board, you might be blocking someone else from going to that spot. But there's a lot of different spots, so it doesn't really matter that much. But you can do that, or you can put them in the grid themselves. And in the grid, there are so many different places to put them that you're going to sit there and go, ooh, I can put this big airship at the bottom and get a bunch of water. Or I can put it on this machine, and as you build the stuff, there's more opportunities there. And the wealth of different things you can do is very entertaining for me. But that's one half of the coin. The other half is, because there's a big pile of large machines, medium machines, and small machines, every game is going to feel very different. You combine that with the tech tiles that come out, with the starting ability tiles. There's just so much variety here. This is the kind of game where normally when I play it, I go, ooh, I'm looking forward to an expansion and more stuff. And I wouldn't be opposed to that, I guess. But there is so much in this base game. The biggest detriment to Whistle Mountain, well, I could see it causing analysis paralysis for some people because there are so many options. But other than that, it's the fact that I think some people are going to look at it, and some of them are going to think they already own it. If you own Whistle Stop, you might look at it and glance and be like, yeah, I got it. And it has nothing to do with Whistle Stop. Whistle Stop is moving trains and resources, and I liked it, but I don't like it nearly as much as Whistle Mountain. Whistle Mountain is one of my favorite games from 2020. It's a game that as soon as I was done playing it, I wanted to play it immediately again. I was just sat there thinking about all the cool things that I could do. It gives me this sense of accomplishment, this sense of, like I said, placing workers and then pulling them. But when you pull the workers, many times in these games, when you pull workers, that's it. Here, when you pull workers, you can now build pieces and rescue workers, and you're always doing something. But turns aren't that long either. Even if I put this down and be like, I did all this cool stuff. All right, that's the next person's turn, and we just keep going around the table. And then the water rising brings a nice thematic level to this. I want to play this game right now talking about it. It's that entertaining, and there's many games, worker placements, putting pieces on the board, taking the action. There's tons of those out there. There's probably well over 500 of these games. This is one of my favorites. This one feels different, but also gives me a really cool sense of satisfaction, a sense of building these neat combos that everybody's going to be able to take part of. But also, hopefully, if I use my special ability and things right, I'll get to utilize better than others. It's a lot of fun. Definitely one I recommend you check out. It's Whistle Mountain. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.